Georgia survives once again. We could have had a college football earthquake, but turns out Georgia once again finds a way to escape. You got to give credit to Florida. They showed up. Billy Gonzalez, the interim coach, played their asses off. I'm going to get into a little bit of how they, called the second half. We'll talk about that. But this is Crain and Company. Make sure you're subscribed. We're almost to 200K. And y'all know when it comes to college football and college sports in general, this is the podcast you got to be sub to or you're missing out. David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, Blaine Crain, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver. Blaine, I'll start with you. Look, a lot of these Georgia games haven't been pretty. This one wasn't pretty. We know it's a rivalry game. We know how much it matters. But Georgia finds a way in the second half. They tied Florida in the third quarter, ended up outscoring Florida by 4 in the fourth quarter, and that ended up being the determining factor in the game. Just quickly, Gunnar Stockton, 20 of 29, 223, 2 touchdowns and interception. Chauncey Bowens was the leading rusher for Georgia, 9 carries, 70 yards and a touchdown. DJ Lagway, 15 to 24 for 166 and a touchdown. Jaden Ball, 72 yards on 15 carries and a score. But Blaine, dude, DJ Lagway has regressed so much from what we thought he was going to be when it comes to missing open guys. And then in the clutch, you have guys running wide open, and you won't get the ball out of your hands.
Yeah, DJ Lagway's a shell of himself, and I'm going to be honest. I mean, I think him, Cade Klubnik, and Nuss from LSU, it needs to be studied. We need to get scientists and study the regression from those three quarterbacks. And to be honest with you, if you're a Georgia fan, I don't know how you can live like this week in and week out. Look, it's great to win, but how many times have Georgia have to come from behind to go win a football game? But the difference is what? Kirby Smart is the coach of Georgia, and at the end of the day, they're so together. Jake said when we were watching the game and the culture that he's built there, it's never panic mode. It's never danger mode. It's just another opportunity to go win a football game, and that's exactly what Georgia did. But I want to give credit for the interim for Florida. I thought he stepped in, did a great job in the environment that game is. Kind of some key plays. I thought the 4th and 1 play for Florida down in Georgia's red zone was a terrible call.
Yeah.
We ran it right into the teeth of the Georgia's defense. They knew exactly what you were going to do, and it's tough sledding in there. But great win if you're a Georgia fan. I don't think Gunnar Stockton looked phenomenal, but I didn't think he played good. Another week with a W against a quality team.
David, you look at Georgia, and we're projecting in the future. They're now 7-1. 5-1 in the SEC. You still have that 1-game cushion because I think, like me, the rest of you believe that a 10-2 SEC team, especially if it's a team like Georgia, is going to get in. I'll be honest with you. I thought for most of this game, it was probably the worst game Mike Bobo has called this season as the offensive coordinator at Georgia. Florida was taking away the run. There was a lot open in the pass game. I know Gunnar wasn't really himself as we've seen. I mean, like I said, he still, ends up 20 of 29 for over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and that interception, which wasn't his fault. I mean, he put the ball and the guy just got tipped in the air. But I felt like Georgia kind of retreated back into this. Well, we're just going to try and run the ball and throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage. That's not going to work as they get into the playoff and in the postseason. They're going to have to start taking more chances down the field. And you got Zachariah Branch. You got guys, you got multiple tight ends that are a mismatch nightmare there at the end. I thought he was really conservative for most of this game. And, maybe it's because they had an interim coach and he thought they could just go out there and give him peanut butter and jelly and win. But that's not going to work down the stretch.
I don't know. I mean, we talked about this with David Pollock. Like, how much of an interim bump would Florida get coming off of a bye week 2 in a rivalry game? Hats off to the Gators for finding a way to keep this game close, particularly when you go 2 for 11 on 3rd down and you have 2 of your best wide receivers out. I mean, it was Trey Wilson and Jaden Ball who really kept this thing in it for Florida. Those guys are going to be playing on Sunday. They're tremendous football players. On the Georgia side, I mean, I would say that the interception was slightly behind and that you could put that on Gunnar Stockton. He also missed another throw to Delp in the second half that would have been, I think, a pivotal first down or even a touchdown. But again, I thought that Georgia would be able to have more success on the ground in the first half, but they just continued to be a second half team. Also, another thing in this game was field position. Like 10 of those points that Florida got early are because of a terrible punt in the first quarter from Georgia, and then you turn around and then you have the interception from Gunnar Stockton. All of a sudden, you're playing from behind once again, like Georgia has done in every SEC game except for Kentucky this year. But what more do you want to say about a team than they find a way to win late? I think Kirby Smart phrased it as a winner's edge, and that's what they have.
Yeah, look, I agree with everything you said. Outside of, I mean, the tight end got 2 hands on the ball. I mean, look, I get if it's a little bit behind.
As a quarterback, I say if you can see it, you should catch it.
No,
So fine by me. I love it.
David, I'm shocked you took that position because me and Blame are sitting here watching. We're like, dude, that should be on the receiver. That turnover should not be on the quarterback. Just like the first one that Carson Beck threw.
Well, here's what I'll say. If you're a quarterback, every interception should be on you and every sack should be on you. There's an ownership component to it. But
well, you did play for Scott Leffler in this game.
Exactly.
It's coming out in spades for you right now. But Blaine, on the Florida side, I will say this. You brought up the 4th down call, and you're exactly right. Everybody in the world knew where that ball was going, and you still sent the ball there. But Jaden Ball still only had 15 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown. How Jaden Ball doesn't have 20 carries a game to me is absolutely insane. Well, and then on the flip side of that, I thought the quarterback run game that was called from Florida, you look at those QB draws, and if DJ Lagway can go forward, he's so much more dynamic than moving laterally. I think that's where the elite athleticism stops. But I just feel like Jaden Ball didn't get enough carries.
Well, you got to remember, I agree with you, but DJ Lagway pulled the ball a lot in this football game, sometimes where he should not have pulled the ball. And trust me, if it's me and you do have a running back like Ba, who I don't think gets talked about enough when it comes just to the national media of covering running backs, you're going to make me have to stop giving it to him. And why not? You're Florida. If it's me, I'm playing a possession football game, right? If I can eat up as much clock as I can, which they did in the second half of this game, that would be my game plan walking into this. But I'll never be upset about putting it all on your quarterback, especially when it's DJ Lagway to go and make the plays that need to get made. And he hasn't done that. And look, I know Billy Napier got fired and he was your head coach, but it's been like this all year. I don't know what has happened to the elite quarterbacks that we brought in from last year, but this year they are not the same football players.
Yeah. I do want to make this note but before we move on to looking at the rest of Georgia's schedule, because to be honest with you, Florida's it really doesn't matter. They're out of contention for anything. And again, I try and take my old coaching hat off for this. I had no appetite for officials, especially the ones that I coached with. I am so disappointed in the officiating in college football all around. And I don't say that as a, just a one game thing. I think it's so bad. I think it is the highest grossing sport that has the worst officiating. And Terry McCauley and these other guys will come out and defend it. And I understand you're not going to get every call right. It blows my mind how bad these guys are just in real time at what they do. If this was D3, I could maybe understand it. But with the amount of money that sports makes, the fact that these referees aren't full-time, the fact there's not a better vetting process, the fact there's not a better accountability process, David, just shocks me because I think it's – and again, you may disagree with me, but just looking around college football, even with the reviews, it's so bad, and it could be so much better. We got to get better people in here.
Well, my bigger issue today, honestly, is this proxy battle going on between Disney and Google via YouTube TV
well, that's
and
another
ESPN. It absolutely makes me sick. So I'm just lucky that I was able to watch some college football today, to be honest with you. And the Hulu app, actually, I'll just stop there because I don't have anything nice to say. On the officiating point, the only thing that really stood out to me is a penalty on an exaggerated clap. What are we calling that on?
And look,
and also, he did it again, and you didn't call it, so you're not even consistent about it. And just so this doesn't come off as being pro-offensive guy here, I say the same thing on the defensive line shifting. Well, the defensive line can't shift as long as they're on their side of the ball. The quarterback can't clap as exaggerated or as loud as he wants to try and draw you off sides. What are we calling in the sport here?
No, and again, I don't want to spend too long on it. It's just, I'm watching. We watch so many games on a Saturday and throughout the week, and I'm just noticing a pattern of contradictory and inconsistency. You know it's bad when the referee they bring in on the telecast is wrong 70% of the time. Like it's insane. I don't think Matt Austin's been right yet. Like little since I've seen him been brought in, but I do want to move on. Looking at the rest of Georgia's schedule before we get out of here again, make sure you're subscribed. We got a ton of content coming. We got more instant reactions coming tonight. Georgia has at Mississippi State. You have Texas at home. You have Charlotte at home. Then you have Georgia Tech in the non-con in Atlanta. You know, we can sit here and parse whether that's a home game or not. I just don't feel like doing it. To me, if you're Georgia, it's a 2-game season because 10-2 gets you in. I know you want to finish, obviously 11-1, give yourselves a chance to play in the SEC championship. But even if you go 10-2 at this point, I mean, you're in the college football playoff. When you look at your wins, I mean, with Georgia, you have wins over Tennessee, who was ranked 15th at the time, still ranked. You lost to Alabama by 3 points, right? You beat Ole Miss 20-10, 43-35. Definitely went 20-10. But when you look at it right now, a 10-2 Georgia gets in, right, David?
Yeah, well, not only that, but another important factor here is the next 2 games are their last 2 SEC games, right? So towards the end of the season in weeks 13 and 14, where everyone else in the SEC is fighting it out to see what their positioning is, you're already going to have your conference schedule locked in, and their only loss right now is a 3-point loss to Alabama. And so, again, you could see a situation where they lose to Georgia Tech, let's say, that's out of conference, and this team is still fighting to get into the SEC championship game. So, and not only that, but Texas, you host Texas, right?
Yeah,
in Athens, in between the hedges. That's huge. I think Georgia's going to make the college football playoff.
Blaine, do you agree?
Is the sky blue? Then yes.
All right. Well, again, make sure you subscribe to Crain & Company. We got a lot more instant reactions coming out tonight. We've got a full AP reaction and college football recap. A lot of stuff has gone down already. Obviously, Miami lost. We'll go through the gauntlet of what's happened. Just make sure you're locked into Crain & Company. We appreciate you guys. And remember, without you, there is no us.